Gents, I just want to pause the episode for a moment to let you know about the Strong Men of Value Academy. You will have heard me refer to it a number of times, and I want to bring more attention to it. So this isn't just a program, it's a life-changing environment and community of men who are focused on personal and professional growth. We're looking at areas of relationships, wealth, and health, things to help you thrive and maximize your life. Imagine having bi-monthly one-on-one coaching sessions with myself, weekly group coaching calls, and an incredible brotherhood of high achievers by your side. Now we're diving into resilience, leadership, and holistic growth to not just succeed in your career, but to thrive in your health and your relationships. Your journey to greatness, it starts here. So join the movement and you can apply for the Strong Men of Value Academy. You can head to themanthatcanproject.com to find out more. How frequently are you truly challenging yourself? And when I mean truly challenging yourself, think about how or when was the last time you pushed yourself to limits that you didn't think were possible. Tony Robbins often says, progress equals happiness. And progress comes through challenge, right? It comes through adversity. Because often we're pushing ourselves to grow outside of what we originally thought possible. Now, many of us can set goals, and people can set them within, I guess, their sphere of what they believe is possible. But once you start hanging out with people who maybe think a little bit differently and really challenge the status quo and really even maybe challenge you to put in more effort than maybe you're currently putting in to get better results, it can be quite a daunting but very fucking exciting process. And today's guest, Dane Christison from Survive to Thrive Nation, really touches on some great points that really tie into all of that. We talk about finding your purpose and meaning, and that's probably one of the common themes over the last couple of podcasts, and it's something that a lot of men are struggling with. They don't feel like they have purpose or meaning in their life, and they're just stuck on the hamster wheel of life, trying to earn more money, but not experiencing too much happiness within the process. We talk about his experience with the London train bombing, the fear response, finding inspiration through visualization, PTSD or post-traumatic stress disorder, and building resilience are a few things that we touch on. There's a whole heap of value, but we are definitely very aligned in our action-orientated process for creating change in your life, because ultimately, if you don't take action on things, it's not going to change. And one thing that I would really love everyone listening to this to take away from is really think about when really was the last time that you pushed yourself to limits that you didn't think were possible. One thing that was really helpful for me around somewhere between 2014 and 2016 was when I was first getting introduced to creating a vision, right? A life vision. At the time, it was a 5-year vision. I was thinking about what was possible and the kind of life that I wanted to create for myself. And as I was writing down, this, that, and the other that I thought would be quite nice in my life, my coach came back to me and said, "Is that all you think's possible for you? We live in such an exciting time, and we're very fortunate, especially in Australia and the United States and various other countries. Even actually, I haven't looked too much into Bermuda, but we are charting like crazy over there consistently as well. So for everyone tuning in from Bermuda, g'day, and thanks for your support. But it's starting to think about what is truly possible, because when you start going or removing the limitations for yourself, it requires you to start thinking differently. It requires you to start having to learn new skills, maybe network with different people, maybe change some habits in your life in order to truly make that a possibility for yourself. And it can be one of the most confronting, challenging, scary thoughts to go through your mind, but that is honestly the process that I personally have gone through to start building a life that I'm proud of, that I'm excited about, and it keeps challenging me every single day. But without me chewing too much of the fat off, guys, before we dive in, this week's episode is sponsored by the Man That Can Project. No, it's not sponsored, but I just want to give the Strong Men of Value Academy program a plug. Applications are now open until the 9th of May. So we have roughly 4 weeks. So in 2 weeks' time, we're going to be doing a 14-day Man in Momentum program just to give everyone a little bit of a taste of what it's like. Because as I said earlier, There is a whole heap of action required to be involved in the academy, because we're not here to just, have weekly chats and get you motivated and excited about life. Want to make you do things that actually create a better life for yourself. So when you get started, if your application is accepted, right, it's application only. Your first 3 months will kick off with a signature 12-week game plan, right? It's a step-by-step proven system to help you master every area of your life. And when I say every area, I mean the process is what we want you to master, not every area in particular. So you depending on how good you are at goal setting and the habits that you have, you might focus on one area this next 12 weeks, but to really help you make a significant change, we're going to help you develop high performance habits, stay accountable to your goals, and meet or be a part and involved with a community of like-minded men who are wanting to reach their potential through building a stronger mind and a stronger body. And in the process, they're going to be able to learn to live, love, and laugh more, because that's what life's about, gents. Anyway, let's dive into the episode. The Men Can Project Podcast, a podcast empowering career-driven men to live more fulfilling lives. We are here to challenge your beliefs, redefine success, and talk about the important stuff in a relatable way. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. My name's Lachlan Stuart. Let's get into it. All right, let's crank into it. Dane, great to have you here, mate.
Thank you, Lockie. Good to see you, mate.
And I didn't give you a bit of a heads up, but I will do a professional intro after we've gone through this and I can dissect what we spoke about and everything like that.
Okay.
Which would be awesome. But, mate, we met in a sauna.
We did. We were wearing Speedos, locked eyes. It was a very emotional moment.
It was a fantastic moment.
It really was. Look, it was a little bit cold for me that day.
In a sauna.
Yeah, it was.
No, but I got to admit, when we were chatting in the sauna, I was very interested to learn about what you were doing. And I was sitting there in the back of my mind. I was like, I'm going to ask this, not on our first date officially, and I'm not going to ask you straight away to come on the podcast, but I was like, I'm sure that I'm going to see, obviously I'm over at the gym all the time. You're at the gym all the time. We're in the sauna together all the time. Pumping iron together all the time. It's a beautiful thing.
We did.
But then we had a bit of a conversation a few weeks later, and here we are. We're on the podcast. But
yeah,
I was really inspired by what you said you were doing with Survive to Thrive Nation, because I felt like there was a lot of synergy between what we're doing, just in different fields. But I think the messaging, and I've listened to podcasts of you. I had a bit of a stalk, honestly, and there's some very similar beliefs. But I'd love to sort of dive into your story around how it came to be. I know you've served in the military, you've experienced PTSD. Can you sort of give us a bit of a take us on the journey?
Yeah, and firstly, mate, I was obviously inspired as well. There is massive alignments, and particularly even the matrices that you built around principal coaching. And I think that that's absolutely sensational, because people like to break things down in simplicity. That's where we get our confidence, and then that's when we get into the complexity. So I think that's really cool. My name is Dane Christison. I hope I can entertain you today. Dad joke. You like that?
Mate, I'm the king of puns, so I'm really proud of that. I really like that.
A little bit of entertainment. Or you can just call me Danger. This is going to get bad all day.
Mate, don't get me started on it.
So Dane Christison, I'm the founding CEO of Survive to Thrive Nation. I'm a former infantry soldier of the 5th 7th Battalion, Royal Australian Regiment, and I served in East Timor and Iraq. Iraq was a heavy combat tour for 6 months. We were under pretty heavy attack. That was vehicle-borne improvised explosive devices. So at the end of the day, that's a suicide car bomber. There was a lot of those.
What was that like? Because I've only seen what I've seen on movies, and obviously that's complete bullshit, right?
Right.
And I've never really spoken to many people who've lived through that. What is it literally like walking? Can you even describe that in words or not?
Yeah. So there's definitely an elevation from your training to a situation where there's certain things that you can't train for. And, you can't really shoot a real round at a guy's head during training, So we arrived under fire on September 10th, 2004. And it was we had the insurgents taunting the Americans about September 11. So they made that a thing. So it was just very heavy combat. And as we flew in, there was an RPG that went over our plane. And then we landed on the road. We got into the ASLABs, so air, sea, land, air vehicles, and they're basically a mini tank. But what we got told was, guys, we're pretty much under attack. There's no time to grab your webbing. We'll get that over to your
and your webbing is like what you use
base.
to sort of blend in, right? Is that
your webbing is where you carry all your rounds and all of that kind of stuff. All we had was a weapon and 30 rounds, and we had to run into the back of this ASLAV to get us to our operational base, which was a tower in the middle of Baghdad. Good old who's your Baghdaddy?
Fucking hell.
Yeah, so we came running into the back of this, and soldiers adapt and overcome. So we were kind of excited. It was really exciting. You're young.
How old were you at this point?
I was 22, turning 23. Right. I had my 23rd birthday over there. I had my 21st birthday on a gun picket in East Timor. I had a machine gun facing me, and we had a machine gun facing them. So it was a bit wild.
Yeah,
I look back at it, and that was my normal life back then. So I didn't really. It's kind of bizarre all these years later to look back, because I have a lot of civilian mates now.
Yep.
And they just don't have that experience. So I suppose it's out of the norm, but for us that was what we trained for at a young age.
Yep.
And then we were indoctrinated for it.
Did you find through that training period, did you go in with the mindset that I'm prepared to go for war and I'm ready for that? Or was there I guess when you're in a certain environment, does that condition you to think, act and behave a certain way? Did you find that it sort of changed who you were when you went in?
Of course. There's a transitional period between going from being a civilian to a soldier.
Yep.
And that transitional stage, you go through an indoctrination period. So you're taken away from friends and family. The first thing that you're introduced to is aggression, because aggression gets you the best results. They take away your civilian clothes. You now go into a state of uniformity.
Yep.
You get told that, you basically civvies are scum, and what they're doing is conditioning you that you are above that now.
Yep.
And you want to strive to be the best within the military, and you take it very serious and the traditions very seriously. And then you go through a huge indoctrination process, and at the end you learn contact drills.
Yep.
So they teach you never to question an order, because imagine if a round came down range in combat and you said, hey, is that Mr. Enemy over there? What do you want me to do? It's like, no, you've got to work automatically, instinctively, and without thought.
Yep.
So you just got to go run, down, crawl, observe, aim, fire. Weapon fires, weapon stops. Lower down, cock, lock, look. Everything has to be very quick, and you're in a war zone.
Yep.
So you're trained to go into a war zone. It's funny that I say you're in a war zone, because psychologically I always visualize that I was there during training, right? Because I wanted to be conditioned for the real thing.
Definitely. Did you feel like is knowing what you know now, do you feel that's healthy? Obviously getting you prepared for battle, but did you feel, obviously, and I'm sure we're going to talk about it, transitioning out, which is what you're all about.
Yeah.
Was it hard to...
Yeah. So the transitional stage, unfortunately, they train them to go to... I was about to use our slogan then, but our slogan is they train them to go to war, we train them to come home.
Yep.
We are the first organisation to truly do that and master it. We've gone through years of rigorous testing to get there, and we work in 3 areas. Early intervention, that's to prevent post-traumatic stress, anxiety, anger management before it needs a cure. So we get them in the early transitional stage before they come out of high stimulant environment back into the civilian world. And then we look at things such as intervention. So that's if you have post-traumatic stress, anxiety. So then we give you the skills to become an independent operator with your mental health in that area. And then there's transitioning out. And so, yes, I did very much have a horrible transitional experience. I had a purpose that was above and beyond myself that was taken away. Great deal of value came out of me. So what goes with value? Confidence. I lost my camaraderie with people that understood me. Even I sit here and tell you about these stories. When you sit there with a mate that just understands it, you're laughing over how crazy life is and whatnot, but you're in a place of comfort. There's people that you talk to that they'd freak out if they heard all the stories. So you learn not to talk to civilians about most of your experiences, and that's why the older generation never spoke about their problems.
And do you feel it's obviously, do you encourage, even for yourself or other people, do you encourage them to start talking about their experiences, or?
I encourage them to speak to the right people.
Yep.
Yeah, because it can have an adverse effect.
Yep.
You know, being in a place of vulnerability has to be the right time, right place, right people.
Yep.
You know, you give the vulnerability to the wrong person, a narcissist will hold that against you the first chance they get.
Definitely.
So you want to be right place, right time, right people. And you want to be able to have what in the Army we call it an immediate action, that if you are going through a crisis, you know who to reach out to immediately to be able to get that assistance.
Yep. So you spoke about before, like for when you were in the Army, you had a purpose bigger than yourself. How important is that within that transitional period?
So when you go through the transitional stage to become a soldier,
yep.
You don't just get that purpose immediately. First, they got to break you down before they build you up.
Yeah, right.
Right. And then each unit that you go to, you'll have your own purpose. So the role of the infantry is to seek out and close with the enemy, to kill or capture him,
yep.
to seize and hold ground, to repel attack by day or night, regardless of season, weather or terrain.
Yep.
So that was my purpose in my life. Now my purpose is to build the largest mental health and transitional program in the world for current and former service personnel. My mission is they train them to go to war, we train them to come home. This will be a compulsory program before leaving defence. So I have a purpose in my life. I wake up and that is my vision. It's very clear in my mind. So I coach people into having that purpose again for what they want to achieve outside. And I teach them that, you know, the military is a stepping stone to be so much more.
How do you get clear on your purpose and then also your mission? Because one of the things that I see with a lot of the men that we work with within our sort of field is exactly that. They lack purpose, which then, you know, they don't understand what they value and they don't have boundaries and all of these other sorts of things which have a negative ripple effect into their life. So for the men that you're working with, or even people just leaving the Defence Force, how do you get them clear on, I guess, finding that next purpose and mission in their life?
Right. So, for instance, take it from someone that's had quite a few near-death experiences and had a lot of spiritual moments.
I was listening to one where you're in the London bombings.
Nearly got. Yeah, so when I got out of the military, I went over to London. I was actually backpacking and then was talking to this guy who worked in corporate security, and they said that they had a counter-terrorism project that they were integrating into with this corporate security company, and they were looking for former military personnel. My first day on the job, I was supposed to get in a tube. It was around sort of 8:15 that I was supposed to get on the tube or something, and I got on at 8 a.m. to go to my interview at the London Stock Exchange. Well, the military had taught me to hurry up and wait. So, because, you know, to be early is to be on time is to be late is unacceptable. That's what we were always taught. So I left 15 minutes early. Well, the tube I was supposed to be on, it blew up. It got blown up at King's Cross Station, 57 killed, 187 injured or something like that from memory, if those are the statistics. If someone looks them up, I'm pretty sure I'm close to it. So that was 6 weeks after I got back from Baghdad.
Welcome back to civilian life.
Yeah. It was kind of bizarre. But then, see, if you condition somebody to a high threat environment for one's life, the central nervous system is part of the brain. You know, the amygdala is obviously where we get our perception from, and that's where we feel our fear response. But if you've been traumatized, it gets trapped within the central nervous system. That's where we store that energy. And when you're in you probably don't notice it as much when you're currently serving, because you get to train and be around that high testosterone environment.
Yep.
But when you come out of that environment and there's no outlet for that, you usually start to use things such as alcohol, women, all of that kind of stuff. You start to stimulate yourself in other areas that you can, and then when that doesn't work, then you're stuck with yourself, and then you got to deal with.
It's a scary place to be.
It can be, mate. Yeah, so you got to deal with that. But I got into London and that happened, and actually it was my transition back. I got a job. I became a Sparky, mate. I don't know why I did that. I had mates over in London and they were like, "Oh, you know, we can work anywhere, we can do anything." And
well, as Sparkies, this is what they were saying.
They were going overseas and they were getting jobs anywhere and doing anything, and they were getting paid well and they were loving life. But I realised that you're in that job for 8, 10, 12, 14 hours per day, 6 days a week sometimes. And if you don't love what you do, man, it will eat you up. And if you've got post-traumatic stress that hasn't been treated and you're in ceilings all day, it's going to come out of you one way or the other.
It's like being trapped in a little anxiety chamber.
It was, mate.
Yeah.
It bloody was, and it breaks you down. It eats you up after a while, I tell you. But mate, we were going, I think the subject was actually purpose that we were talking about. When we're kids, we find our purpose very easily because we haven't been conditioned from our parents and the people around us on fear responses.
Yep.
They haven't told us yet that you just got to get a job. They tell you that you can be Batman. You know what I mean? They tell you that you can be anything that you want. But as you get older, they go, well, let's make this realistic for this person. So they start to condition the fear responses. And then the schooling does it every day. Like if you don't study this subject, you're going to turn into a nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is absolutely wrong.
You literally spend your whole life being told what you can't do. Don't do that or this will be the risk. And it's like, well, tell me what I can do.
Exactly. The human body, it has some characteristics about it that are quite profound. In particular, inspiration fuels motivation. Motivation fuels passion. Passion fuels purpose. But inspiration has 3 characteristics on the human brain as well. It has transcendence, evocation, and motivation. So the first part is when we are inspired by something, we create a clear vision in our mind. So a child looks at a soccer player and they go, wow. And they can see themselves in the stadium and they can see people cheering them on and they're there and they're right in that vision. It's really, really clear. Now, over time, they may not become a great soccer player. Like they just don't get to that level that they want. They don't have the genetics for it. They might be whatever it may be. Or life situations get in. So we tell them to get a job. Why aren't we telling them that they could be the CEO of a soccer organisation or a clothing brand or something that their purpose was meant to be around that area? We don't. We condition ourselves away from it. When we talk to soldiers, we say, hey, if anyone should be living their purpose, it should be you. If anyone has defended their country, it should, you should be living your purpose more than anyone. So you've got to get inspired. And the mind screams, but the soul whispers. The mind is always telling you what you can't do, you shouldn't do, why you shouldn't do it. You need money, you need all of this. But the soul knows what it wants.
Yeah.
It always knows what it wants. It always knows it can be bigger and better. It's there. The mind is just a fear factor, and that's why meditation is so important, to become a witness of your thoughts, not the participant. So what I'm saying is that when you are inspired by something, you have to grasp onto that. This life, what I know about near-death experiences is the meaning to life. Everyone has wrote books on it. They're this big, but it's really easy. It's finding a purpose. It's having a purpose in life. Love and family, that's all a byproduct of it. You want a healthy family, then be living your purpose, right? And all of those things will be a byproduct. But having a purpose in life, why are we here? Well, you find it every day. It's actually really quite easy. You can get inspired very easily.
Well, that's what I feel. The same thing is like we can create it. Like for some people, and depending on, I've gone through depression and things like that. And when I became aware that I could create purpose, some days it's like literally, the one thing I want to get done today is get outside and just go for a walk. And if I get that done, I can go home and go, fucking the
reward.
King. Yeah.
Reward. And isn't it amazing? Because then all you got to do is you got to reference the time when you didn't get out of bed, or reference the time when you did drink heavy, or reference the time that you didn't go and see your mate. And then you go, you know what? Back then that's what I did, but now I went for a walk.
Exactly.
That's one building block above where I was. So you're continuously growing, and you don't have to put yourself up against anyone else because you've got your own battle to, they're not going through the same battle as you. So it doesn't matter.
That sort of brings on that next challenge for people is we are living in a state of comparison, especially with social media. And, we did an exercise, and I always do the exercises with the men in our academy as well, which was what has to happen in order for us to feel worthy. And I went through, I took maybe 45 minutes to go through and do this. And all 3, told the lads 3 things to do. So all 3 of mine were based around business and money. And like obviously hit my podcast downloads, social media engagement, how the business is doing, and finances. a lot of those things I don't have control over necessarily. I can't choose who shares, likes, comments, all that sort of stuff. But a lot of what happens in order for me to feel worthy is based around that. And I focus on this day in, day out, and I was like, I thought I was above that. But then when I actually took some time to slow down again, I'm like, fuck, and who am I comparing that against? Am I comparing it against this podcaster or this business coach or, all of these things that, once again, are out of my control, rather than looking at where I was or what actions I'm doing, or am I, I guess, a sprint block in my business, whereas, last year I wasn't, because I was focused on other things. And I think that's why it's important. And you mentioned meditation before. It's like we need to observe our thoughts and really start to understand them, because a lot of the time, it feels like a blender. I always go back to the analogy of, like, if you can throw fruit, fucking wheat bix, milk, all this stuff in the blender and just turn it on and then try and pull them out individually, it's not going to happen.
No.
But if you can start writing things down, you can then make sense of it. And a lot of the thoughts that we're having, it's irrelevant. We shouldn't be thinking about it.
Yeah. It's amazing that you just brought that up, because in the military, we, like I was talking about before, we have this thing called an IA, right? An immediate action.
Yep.
When there's a problem, you have an immediate action to know how to deal with it, overcome the threat, and move forward.
Yep.
And obviously meditation is an immediate action for us, but journaling as well is a huge one.
Yep.
And it's amazing. You've got these guys that former snipers and whatnot, and here they are tapping away, journaling their emotions and their thoughts. And the worst place to think is inside your head.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So get your journal going. Let those fingers start typing, and you'll be amazed at how you start to articulate what is in that blender.
Yeah, it's literally the most incredible. I was listening to Jim Rohn. I don't know if you listen to much Jim Rohn.
Yeah, Jim Rohn is the first personal development coach I ever listened to.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. But he talks about the 3 treasures, which is obviously your bookcase, your photos, and obviously now videos, and then also your journals, where it's like your thoughts. And I'd thrown some out. Managed to find 6. I'm like, I'm going to keep those and keep reading through them. And I know for myself, a lot of people say, well, how do you journal? Because for me, even the stigma around it was, I thought my sister had a journal when I was going, I'm not writing in a fucking journal. That's for girls. Like, that's what they do. But then if you understand what's the intention behind it, for me, I see a lot of blokes, and for myself personally, I really struggled to articulate what I was feeling, and even what I was learning. I consume a lot of stuff, as we all do, but I never got to really form my own beliefs around it, or what does that mean to me? So now it's like I start every morning. It's generally 10 past 4, or literally that's how I start my journal. It's 10 past 4, and then then just whatever happens after that. Sometimes I feel wise and introspective. Other times it's nothing.
It's a mess.
But
it's spaghetti.
It's just. But the point is like just keeping that habit there, because on days when I do need it, it's there.
Yeah, it's such an important tool. And if people want to see studies on it, look up Dr. Joshua Brown from Indiana University. He's a professor over there. And the reason why I sound really smart from bringing up his name, I'm terrible at names. I was literally just editing a video where I bring his name up on our coaching course.
Right. Sorted.
So yeah, I sounded really smart right there.
I love it when that happens. You've just been doing this.
This just comes in. So yeah, but that has been an incredible tool for me. But if you're struggling with meditation and you're struggling to become a witness of your thoughts instead of the participant, that you automatically do that when you journal, because they're all coming out. All you got to do is just journal what is in your mind. And when you start, the reason why people say, I can't think, the truth is that their mind is working that quick. They just haven't articulated and slowed the thoughts down. So all you need to write is that exact words. I can't think. Why can't? And then it'll just start to move from there.
Yeah.
It's starting to move through it.
It feels so simple, but there's obviously people who go, I can't be alone in my own head, or I can't slow my thoughts, or whatever you mentioned a few there. But even I ran a workshop a few years ago, and this big tough guy who works in the mines, I was like, righto boys, we're all doing a Facebook Live, and we're going to talk about one thing that you've experienced today. And this dude storms back in the room after, you fucking embarrassed me in front of all my friends on Facebook and everything. I was like, whoa, what's going on? He's like, watch this. And I stuffed up. I didn't know what I was going to say. I was like, mate, that's exactly why we did this. because a lot of us don't say what we want to say or don't even know how to say what we want to say because we keep it in here. Now what you've got, and yes, it would have been easier on a journal because you could have kept it for yourself, but fuck it. We've just allowed you to be seen.
Yes.
You can now watch that video back and go, next time I talk about this, this is how I would say it. Or maybe I would pause more here. I'd look at the camera or whatever the feedback you feel you need from that experience.
People don't want to see clean anyways, man. They want to see, people are inspired by the person that stumbled and fell and then, and they relate to you. Like, not everyone is going to be a clean, articulate thinker and talker. Most people aren't. So I always, see someone who's raw and real like that, and I'm like, damn, I can listen to this all day. This is cool, So, but look, going back to the old journey and the purpose side of things. No, coming out, the biggest thing people lose in transitioning from an institution, whether that's military, whether that's sporting institutions.
Would you even say like university to a degree?
Even the arts. Like even the arts, if you're a famous actor and you lose your purpose, you lose your camaraderie or the people, your tribe or your community, the biggest thing is identity. Identity is an injury. I take that as a mental health injury. When you lose your identity, you don't know who you are, you're questioning it, you're doubting yourself, you do all of that. And it's really hard because, people with OCD, called the doubting disease, that is a byproduct of post-traumatic stress. And I went through a lot of that going, I don't know who I am, what I'm supposed to do. And, everything that you do, you're questioning yourself, and it's horrible because it haunts you. And you're trapped in it for a long period of time, and it takes a lot of work to get yourself out. But it's really important to understand who you are, what makes you tick, and really identify the negative traits of yourself too, and overcome them. Because, mate, your identity is who you show up to be every day of the week.
Yeah. Was that hard for you to identify those negative things about yourself? Or were you at a point where you were ready for it?
I'm pretty courageous with that shit. Yeah. Look, to be honest with you, when I'm around my group of mates, they keep their cards close to their chest. I'm the first to laugh at myself, and I've had to. Sometimes, it depends on if I'm when I've had bad mental health. And I no longer want to be the butt of the jokes, and I don't have that in me to be there. That's pretty hard because you're in a place of insecurity. But when you get yourself back, like, that's just normally me, man. I wear my heart on my sleeve, and mental health to me, like, I'm pretty liberated by it all. To me, it's physical health. It's just like anything else to me, mate. I just don't think about it any other way. Is what it is.
So you mentioned obviously like you experienced PTSD and being the butt of the jokes and all of these sort of some significant, some maybe subtleties that we experience in life, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that can relate to it. How did you become aware that it was a thing? Like, did you just...
I didn't.
Yeah,
I didn't know what post-traumatic stress was. It wasn't talked about within the Defence Force when I was in. Remember, I got out in 2005. I went to counter-terrorism until 2006. 2005, there was no Facebook. There was no awareness. There was no social media.
What a time to be alive.
Stigmatization was massive. You did not come out into the military and say that you were having anxiety attacks. You didn't even know what anxiety was. And feeling anxious, like, people would say, harden up. That was how it was back then. Like, people had no idea about mental health. And, they basically said to you, go see the Padre. Now, Padres are awesome now. They're very well coached in mental health. They're amazing. I love our Padres. And I love the Padres back then, don't get me wrong. But my Padre was like up at the pub. And it was like, go see the Padre. He was up there, smashing beers, having a scooey. And you go to talk to him about it and that, and you were shouting him beers. It was almost, that's how you paid for your counselling session.
That's perfect.
It was epic. But not so epic when you had to, you were trying to navigate your way through this shit. And then I went to see counsellors, and the issue with counselling is they're assisting you on the conscious level. Post-traumatic stress is at the subconscious, and it's at the biological level, deep molecular level. And
is that because your body holds a physiological response to how you're feeling or the trauma or the
experience?
Yeah.
It's storing energy in there so that you can your fight or flight response is quicker, because
that's fucking fascinating.
Yeah, of course. It stores energy in there, so like you can move quick. You're always ready for that threat.
Yep.
You know.
This is.
Do you want me to give you an analogy?
Yeah.
This is my own analogy of post-traumatic stress, right? This is my own analogy of post-traumatic stress. We're sitting in a movie theater. It's a horror film. And there's a perpetrator and then there's the prey. So you've got the killer and then you've got the victim.
Yep.
Now, we're empathists. We put ourselves in the shoes of the victim in a horror film. If you didn't, you probably want to have a look at the old sociopath side of yourself. When you're in that theater, cognitively, you know you're in a safe environment, do you not? There's aircon, you've got popcorn, you've got your girl next to you, there's an exit out there, all of that. But inside you are screaming, kill this guy or run. Why are you picking up your keys and hanging around? And you're screaming and it's frustrating and it's wearing you down and you're thinking, I just want to walk outside and take a breath. But post-traumatic stress, cognitively, you know you're in a safe environment, but your body does not. And it doesn't last an hour. It doesn't last 2 hours. It goes on for a week. It can go on for months. You are in a high state of trauma. And the way that it works is that the cup is full and then it'll empty just enough to survive. The cup is full, it's just enough for survival, but you are always on standby. And the way that you have to release that, it takes work. Yeah. It takes work to be able to do that. And it's a holistic approach to how you do that. And I'll tell you about the platforms and what we do with Survive to Thrive in a minute. But I lived like that for years because of stigmatization. I did not want anyone to know that I had post-traumatic stress. I didn't want to know. So for me, firing up at mates, bosses, losing jobs, getting into fights, losing relationships, all of that was cool, but speaking up wasn't.
Mental.
Isn't that mental? So we live in a different world now, thank God, but we live in a different world because of the courageous. And I didn't just go out there because, we always say, get out of your head and back into your life. I took that very seriously. I was like, you know what? I'm going to liberate other people from telling my story. And I don't care what the backlash is on this. But to my surprise, 99% of people were really supportive and proud of me. And the 1% that wasn't, some of those guys that put shit on me from my unit, they've ended up being on my program.
I'm in the exact same position from what we do.
Yeah.
And some have watched for literally 5 years and then like, righto.
Yeah.
It works or it's not a fad.
Correct.
And you go through that, like I talk about it often, like changing my environment. So I was playing high level sport, and when I moved back to Australia, it was like that loss of identity, use drugs, alcohol, violence, much of what you touched on. And I never had a purpose. And the one thing that happened was someone that I had enough. And this is why I think it's so important that we slow down and do give time to people and, gift things. Like people think that, or maybe don't even think about it for me, but I always give books away. I always, I'll pay for someone's fuel or pay for someone, just do random acts of kindness because that one thing could literally change their life. Like the guy who gave me the book, The Four Agreements, and it literally sent me on a whole different trajectory because reading that, I was like, well, he's taken the time to give it to me and spend some money on me. I'll read it. But in that, it started challenging my thoughts and I found purpose. And the purpose at that time was to read more books and see what else I could change because I fucking hated myself. And that's why for me, like I gift so much stuff to people because I'm like, hopefully this thing can help this person because I know it can, but not everyone's ready for change. But maybe through gifting, they'll take that next step to look at themselves and redefine what purpose is. And I was saying to my wife yesterday, like, I just wish and this is sort of based off of Jim Rohn as well, but if people could do two things if they don't have purpose right now in their life. And for me, the one was I wanted to make $1 million, right? But another one for someone could be to get a six-pack, right? As vain as it sounds, what you're going to, or who you're going to become in the process of chasing those will change your life. Mm-hmm. You may swing too far to the, when I was training 4 hours a day for CrossFit, I wasn't healthy. I'd just gone the complete opposite way of someone who's maybe morbidly obese.
Right.
But I learned through swinging those ways, which was what was balanced for me and what was going to help me move forward. Right. Same with money.
Yes.
It's like earn a lot of money. And then I was like, whoa, I've sacrificed too much lifestyle. Like, where do I sort of sit and what's going to work well for me? But it was who I became in that process.
Yes.
So I think, people say it's not about money or it's not about the six-pack abs, but if that's going to empower you or inspire you to grow and be motivated, fucking go
that's the
for
start.
it.
And I love that you say that because I'm surrounded by experts in everything, right? But unless you're your own billboard, don't be giving me the information because I'm only emulating those that are where I need to be.
Yep.
That's it. Right. So for me, it's like, okay, I want to be fit, but I also want to look like who I'm waking up in the mirror with every day, right? So I want to look in the mirror and go, fuck, I like my chest, I like my shoulders, I like those delts. You're juicy. Stop it. So, who is that? So I want to, all of those things are important to me.
Yep.
And everyone that sits there goes, work smarter, not harder, never have the body to me. They've overworked themselves with intelligence rather than the act. Get out there and do the act. Don't be telling me about all your YouTube videos and all the bullshit that you're reading unless you're going to take one piece of that pie, put it in to the act every single day. Otherwise, don't talk to me about it.
That's what I love about you. That's why I was like, because for me as well, every single week there's an action task. Do the fucking action task. If you come back and haven't done it, once again, it doesn't affect my life because I'm doing what I said I was going to do. But for the people who read the books, pay for the programs, do all these sorts of things, doesn't mean shit.
Yeah, I don't want to know about your ideas about it. You know what I mean? I want to know about what work you did and what you learnt from the actual action itself. And everyone with their ideas about their training, just go in there and do it, mate. You know what? You overworking if you do 2 hours. Mate, go and do 2 hours, and I tell you what, you're closer to your goal than you telling me about it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? You're working smarter, not harder. Work harder, and let me see what ends up happening. You're going to become smarter anyways.
Exactly.
Exactly.
It's the experience. It's like, do you want to do 10,000 hours in 20 years, or do you want to get it done in a year?
Exactly. Mate, I surrounded myself, and there's a guy that I'm mentoring that I'll tell you about later, legend. Absolutely.
This is the guy you sent me on.
Mate, talk about a billboard.
Yep.
Talk about a billboard. Darcy Cogdale. Absolutely. He is a billboard of his own work, that kid. He's phenomenal. And I reached out to him because I had mentors. People that didn't want anything from me at all.
Yep.
And yet these guys have worked in Parliament. You've got James Baker, former head of PR for Boeing. And he was an advisor in the Howard government. Mate, this guy is in my corner always. Never asks for anything, and gives me everything. The value in return, and he's helping someone else.
Yep.
It's the same as me when I mentor someone that I see has talent, but to me, it's the work ethic. Don't be talking the talk. If you're walking the walk, mate, I'll jump in your corner and I'll be fighting with you every step of the way to see where you're going to go. Mate, I have no idea where I was going with this conversation.
I don't know, but
who cares? Who cares? We're talking about peer support now, and we're on it. Which, by the way, our program has 24-hour access to peer support and coaches across Australia.
Fucking hell. But I think, to me, what simplifies it before we go into your programs and everything like that is literally finding or creating that purpose. And as you've said, you go through this process, but if you can simplify it and get it done, but you're not going to achieve any of that stuff without the action. All of it has to be action orientated. So no matter what you learn, no matter what conversations you have, thoughts you have, ideas, put it into action.
Yes.
One of the things that, this is you may think it's the most basic task. And to me, it is also one of the most basic tasks, but people with where they stand, so we put people in our men in groups, and I was saying that for 12 weeks, right? That's their smaller pod of 10 blokes for accountability. And last week was like, righto, gents, you're going to organise your own call, right? You got our Friday morning call, but you do your own thing. And to see some groups be dead silent, because I understand, who's going to go first, who's going to lead it, what times work for everyone. I understand, I've been through that. But what I now know, and I guess what I want to share with people is step up as a leader.
Yes.
If you decide the time, create the links, make it all happen, everyone will build to that. Yes, you're not going to fit everyone, but it's taking action because you're going to get feedback. Some people, 90% may say, no, that time doesn't work for me. That's fine. Change the fucking time. But if you don't do it, you're going to sit there and the whole week goes by and then you've just not completed a task. You have not moved your life further forward because you've been dealing with the fear in your head around, or what if, the time doesn't work for someone, or I don't know how to create a Zoom link, or whatever it is that goes through people's mind, and it's completely normal.
Yeah.
But it's just fucking start and fumble forward, and you'll probably get feedback, or the feedback that you need along the way.
Correct. So everyone should understand that as soon as you feel yourself overthinking, hit the circuit breaker, because overthinking leads to analysis. Analysis leads to paralysis. You're not going to be moving anywhere. You're stuck. All right. And then once you're in that state of paralysis, to get the engine back up and going, just overthink. Oh God, I've got to do this, and just get up. If that's the energy that you got to get there, when you get involved with it, it was like yesterday, right? I got home. It was a big, heavy day. I've been doing a lot of editing. The new online course is about to come out, our 5th version of the program. We're an innovative service.
Yep.
Always got to, be on top of the game, and on top of your coaching, on top of your brand language, everything that you do. And anyways, I was exhausted yesterday. I got home. I went to go have a sleep, and then it was like I was wrecked. Like the whole body was. I was like, I just want to have an afternoon sleep and not wake up until like 8 o'clock the next morning. and a reminder comes up, and it's my mate that I haven't spent time with in ages, and he's a really close mate. And we were going to go hit golf balls yesterday afternoon. If I had stayed in there for a split second more, I was sleeping, and I was going to let down my mate. I was letting down my mate again. Can't do that. He's too important to me. He's a valuable mate, and I was like, oh. But that paralysis was a split second away, because I was like, coming up with it was going to the analysis stage of what excuses I could come up with. I was like, fuck, get up.
Oh, yeah.
But every single time you do, God gifts you with something.
Yep.
God always gifts you with something for turning up. You always just got to turn up. That's part of being on a journey and a spiritual journey. It doesn't matter how much you love what you do. The body is the body, and it will want you to chill out and watch TV.
100%.
Get the snacks out. Just turn up. No matter how much that fear is there, turn up, and he'll give you a gift for it every single time.
Yeah, and it's when you walk away from that, you're like, you've just validated that point. It's like, thank fuck I did that. It was the same with me going to, one thing that I've been intentional with is, going out to dinners with my wife's friends and all of these sorts of things, which normally I'm like, nah, fuck that. I'm going to work or do something like that. But then I got introduced to someone who's been extremely helpful in mentoring me from that. And I still remember, as you said, that just came to mind. I remember walking away from that dinner being like, that's exactly why I went to this dinner. As much as I didn't want to, I wanted to stay at home and just have Lockie time, which I love having.
Yes.
Being there is now going to add a ton of value to my business from that connection.
Yeah, 100%. And I remember, the Survive to Thrive journey of building the organisation, and there was just places and people that I didn't want to see in particular. If there's particular people that you just don't want to see, hear, or be in the presence of, but yet you turn up and you get that gift and you're like, wow, okay.
Thank you.
That is exactly why I was here, and that's what I can walk away with today.
One thing that just popped in my head was, because I often think about when I guess, left sport behind, didn't know what I wanted to do. I did a carpentry apprenticeship, fucking hated it.
Yeah.
And
hated my Sparky apprenticeship. Oh my God.
Terrible time in my life. Yeah. For those who love it, awesome, but just wasn't my jam.
Exactly what I was about to say.
And after that, I just knew that all that I wanted moving forward was I just wanted to have flexibility and be able to be in control of my income. So I did Uber driving, I did door like sales and all of these different things. But what I then learnt and actually read was like, well, all of these things are teaching you skills. From the military, what were some of, I guess, the most transferable skills for you coming out that have helped you build a successful company?
Number one is I have pushed myself to limits that I didn't think were achievable. So I want anybody that thinks that when they're done to understand that they're only at 40%, because I know that, like, I've been in situations where my mind has literally said to me, there is not one more push-up that I can actually do. And then all of a sudden, it's just crazy how you can get through that. So transitioning from that environment outside, mate, you give me a task or I create one, and it'd be hard. It's hard to beat me in that area. Yeah, because I've had that. I've pushed myself past that, and you don't need military training to get there.
How do you build that then? How for someone listening who's like, their resilience is maybe not a strong point for them, and they know they always give up.
Yeah, so small achievable goals
Yep.
way up to long-term achievement. So start with running, and when you get to a point where you want to stop, run harder.
Yep, I like it. That's what, for me, I love, even a simple one for the lads. And I was blown away by how many did it. I said, all right, everyone, this is when I think we first started having a yarn, was said all the boys, right, we're doing a half marathon this week. A lot of these guys had never touched a fucking rower before. And the amount of them, I reckon 95% of the lads did it. And I was just blown. And most of them beat my time, so I had to go back and do it again because I just cruised through it.
Yeah.
Not feeling like anyone would really get through it. So I was blown away by that.
Yes.
But finding ways every day to challenge yourself is important, whether it's strength training, aerobic capacity. I do Rubik's Cubes, juggling, just learning new skills, because if you go through that process, the process of learning is transferable.
Yes. Well, it absolutely is in everything that you do. Like, even if you're talking about like practicing juggling, what happens to the mind when you practice juggling? Now you can start to take on way more tasks. It's like people that play piano, their brain starts to, they're amazing problem solvers. So, but just talking about running before, right, for a thing that's simple, that's how we all operate. When you go for a run, it is so easy to meditate when you run, because your heartbeat starts to pound, and all you can hear is the loudest voice telling you got to fucking stop. And all you have to do is tell it to fuck off.
I can imagine seeing you running down the road.
I run past you every day. I think it's really important for your viewers to understand this is Brisbane for you, okay? There's a 6 degrees of separation. If you know one person, you know at least 6 people in Brisbane. Multiply that and keep multiplying that. We're all connected around here. He turns around and says, I want you to come into my studio. I'm like, yeah, cool. We meet at the gym at Newstead. It's probably 2-3 suburbs that way.
That way.
Right? No one can see where we're pointing.
Pointing across the river.
That way. Yeah. We're pointing over the river, people. And so today I'm like, okay, well, look, I'll leave, 30 minutes early to get to where we're going. And fucking, he's 3 buildings down. I walked here. It's 3. He lives 3 buildings down.
Like, thanks for saving Vegas, on petrol price.
Yeah, that's what I said. Thank you, man. Putin was giving me the shits with the petrol prices, but you came to the rescue, so thank you. Just walked over here.
The foot falcon.
The foot falcon. I actually walked back because I got a gift for him. I might as well give it to him now before I forget. But these are Survive to Thrive t-shirts.
You'll see me wearing them. Appreciate that, mate.
Yeah, no, mate.
We've got a big batch coming in on the 3rd of April, so I'll drop you a few of ours. These are awesome.
Yeah, cool. So, mate, so people that buy those shirts on our website, 100% of the proceeds goes into sponsoring veterans on the Survive to Thrive program. So our profit for good company, everything that we do and every money that we raise, 100% of that goes into
sponsoring
the actual product of the 8-module online course, the phone app for their daily morning routines. They get 24-hour access to peer support, so veterans assisting veterans. 3 o'clock in the morning, a veteran wakes up, he's having panic attacks, he's having night terrors. You got another veteran that says, hey, man, let me give you a call. We're going to run through, I've been in this hole, I know my way out. I'm going to run through a grounding exercise with you. And then we've got our peer mentors and coaches. So that's also free as well. So they become qualified, trained, Survive to Thrive mentors and coaches across Australia for other veterans. So they do their mental health first aid and then they learn how to articulate the coaching program in a meaningful way, and they just hold them accountable throughout the program and their process. So, and it's really cool because, not only do you have a lived experience coach, you've also got a lived experience coach that has boundaries training who's not going to lead you into some pretty heavy, depressing conversations, and it's going to help you, guide you to get through and back onto the program to survive and thrive, which we probably should get to at some stage.
Yeah, that's where he is. Let's do it.
Yeah. So, okay. So, transitioned out, had a breakdown, lost my purpose, lost everything, lost my value. I was at a stage where for 2 years I was having a panic attack at the thought of a panic attack because they were that bad for me, right? So I couldn't get past my mailbox. At the time I was married. She would have to come with me to the shopping centre. And one day when we were renovating the house, she came back and I couldn't focus. I couldn't see 3 inches in front of my face with stress. And I didn't need to be triggered. I was constantly in this trauma. And we went to Bunnings one day and I'd had enough, and I'd seen this rope that was in one of the aisles, and a friend who had attempted suicide probably 2 weeks previous had told me everything just went clear and finally he felt good, like he just released everything. And when he made his decision, and he said,
so he made his decision
to commit suicide, and then everything just went clear. Well, this wasn't the first time I'd heard that. And I seen that, and that I had that experience right there, and I thought, this is it. And then I looked over and I had the woman that I think we were just newly married. And so I had a purpose to live, right? And I was like, fuck. And I dropped I had paint in my hand. I dropped the tins of paint and I ran into the car. It was the first time I'd cried since my sister died when I was 15. So I hadn't cried in years, mate, over 10 years or something at the time. I got into the car and it came from the lower solar plex. And it went on for about 2 hours, but it felt like 5 minutes. So she got me home, but when we were sitting in the car talking, she said, "Just tell me, like, what has gone on? What happened in there for this to happen?" And I said, "I don't know what I'm going to do, but I feel like I could be end up another statistic." And she grabbed me and she said, "I don't care. I don't know what you have to fucking do, but that medication, it does not work. And that talk therapy, there's just only so much talking that you can do. You need to figure out what you can do. You have to take responsibility and find out what you can do to overcome this shit, because I'm not fucking losing you." And then my life changed that day.
Fuck.
So I got home and I went into my room, I opened up my laptop, and I just fucking put the word in. It just came to me like inspiration. And then all of these motivational speakers came up. And they started speaking my language. I didn't realize what had happened, but they leveled and influenced with me. They were coming from a real place of lived experience.
So this was your wife, right?
This was at the time, yeah.
Yeah, and Jackie, she pretty much just fucking slapped you in the face with the harsh truth.
She broke through to me and fucking...
Man, that's ballsy, because you hear so like
she was ballsy.
Yeah,
she was a courageous girl.
Because when I think about like people in that position, it's a fine line to tread, because some people that could fucking send them, but obviously
she wasn't scared of a confrontation, and you know, God gifted me with her for the period of time. You know, people are in your life for a season, reason, or a lifetime. That was a reason for me, and I'm sure I gave her plenty of reasons in her life at that time.
And so it's purely just that it's like you're the one who has to fix this.
Yes, 100%. Trauma is not your fault, but it is 100% your responsibility.
Fuck, I love that.
Yeah. So I came home that day, and that was when I got into personal development. My personal development journey started, and it became very evidently clear that I was trained for war. I was not trained to come home, and I needed to find those answers. And I just became obsessive at finding these answers, and I ended up with answers that just were not coached in the clinical world, and they were not giving me those answers. And I started to become very self-aware of everything around me and what was happening. And I talked to this veteran, God rest, you know, I mean, God bless him. I don't want to say God rest. God bless. No, seriously though, God bless him. Because 40 years after Vietnam, every year this guy was going back as an inpatient to the hospital. Now, he was no different than me. In fact, when I met him, he was in a better state. He was going in as an inpatient every year. And he was getting his medication. He was seeing his psychiatrist and his psychologist, and they were telling him, you know, what's good for the goose isn't always good for the gander with this. Everyone has their own personal journey with it and blah, 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 blah. But there are still fundamentals that everybody benefits from. Everybody benefits from exercise. Everybody benefits for deep molecular breath work. Everybody benefits from education. Everybody benefits from improving themselves. Everybody benefits from all of these things. So that framework has to be holistic and it has to be done in such a well-structured way. So the Survive to Thrive program in Module 1 is me telling my story in a way that creates light bulb moments for you. So you can draw a parallel to your own story. I stay away from it being triggering, right? So it's a story that says, wow, that's me, or I can relate to that, or damn, I want to achieve that. And, and then we start building that that positive authority about what I've done and what I've achieved, and it's coming from a real place. The second part of it is you're not going to be successful unless you build the mindset for success. And in the military, they taught us that we were very self-disciplined. They also told us not to question an order. But what I found out is that discipline has two banners underneath it. It's got self-discipline and it's got external discipline. External discipline is being held accountable. Self-discipline is a personal practice on your own. Right? And the external discipline side is when the military is telling you what to do, the taxman is telling you what to do, your personal trainer is telling you what to do, your peers are telling you what to do. And you want to become great in your mental health, you got to have self-discipline, because depression is going to tell you not to get out of bed and anxiety is going to tell you not to leave the fucking house. So you have to take a great deal of responsibility in your courage and a great deal of discipline in your courage to be able to get up and get out. So you need that mindset before you can move forward. The second is what we talk about is acceptance, accepting where you are but not tolerating it. So there's a difference in the stress levels, and that's surrendering to where you are at the moment and understanding that you are exactly where you're supposed to be in this moment before you move forward. So you got your acceptance and your mindfulness, so you start becoming mindful, and then we take them into meditation, but we do it in a way that the military understands. We use military sort of jargon, what we do as well through it, and I also teach about conscious and subconscious in that area. I'm training them to become well-oiled operators in their mental health now. Yep. One thing I love about veterans is that they're probably the best to train in the world, because they've been through the best training in the world, and they know how to structure it. So as long as you structure principles, they'll get up every day and they'll do it. And we're teaching them, learn to become the witness of your thoughts instead of the participant. You get a veteran to sit down on the edge of a chair and he'll start witnessing it. He'll do that quicker than anybody. It's because he's focused, knows what he's doing, and she's focused as well. I need to be inclusive because I'm really proud of our female veterans out there as well. So, and then education, right? So education is the next part. I teach people about the indoctrination of military service and how it affects your behaviour. I go through the indoctrination of how you were broken down and how you built back up. Now that starts creating a whole heap of light bulb moments. And then at the end, I do a reveal. So there are words that were drilled into us. Never get complacent. Always be switched on. So for starters, never get complacent. What's going to happen if you're never complacent and you're always fucking switched on? You're going to start having hypervigilance, hypersensitivity. You're going to, you start over time. You could have sleep deprivation. Never question an order. So that's another one. Don't question an order. You're doing what you're told all the time. You're not questioning what you're doing. When you come out of a military environment and everything that you did becomes questioned by the civilian world and the people in your workplace and the things that they built up to make you really proud of yourself, and there's people that have conflicting opinions about that you don't hear while you're in, but they open up to you when you come out, and they start doing that. You're going to start having cognitive dissonance, and that's where your beliefs and your ideals become challenged. So there are all of these things that happen within the reveal, and then in the end, I'm like, they train you to go to war, we train you to come home. Do you see why now 46.8% of Australian Defence personnel have a mental health concern within the first 12 months of discharge, and 46% are diagnosed with a mental health condition within 5 years? Nearly half of us.
Far out.
Tell me another community in the world where you put them in and then nearly 50% have a mental health condition after that. Now, you only have to go for your 4 years. You get institutionalised within 1 year. If you're in a high-threat environment in an institution, you become institutionalised. Things become a psychological to mechanical habit within 3 months. Well, recruit training's 3 months. So they drill you to be automatic, instinctive, and without thought. You go through this training for that period of time. So from there, now we understand the mechanics. We understand where we're at. We've got a great deal of self-awareness. Now, that's not going to take you away from being a great operator in the military environment. What it's going to do is make you amazing outside that environment, right? Because now we can grow and we can build. We've recognized, we understand where we're at. We know how to change now. And that's where the real change starts to happen. Second part is being a mechanic, right? Imagine you looked at a motor and someone said, I need you to fix this. You didn't know what to do. Mate, you'd blow a gasket before the gasket blows, right? You'd be stressed out of your head. So what we do is we become the GPS to success. We start to teach them everything about their mental health, how it works, where things are stuck in the body, how this is all happening. So they start to go, oh, okay, look, I know what to do now. So then we need to get an action plan. So on the second part of our education, so we have 4.1 is education and 4.2 is the next part of the module of education. Yep. That's when we start to teach people about how and when to use that breath work. Deep molecular breath work that's releasing stored energy that creates tremor in the body, So, and then we're looking at things like your journaling kind of stuff. So you've got an immediate action on where to go with that. There's cognitive behavior therapy that you do, but you can do it in your own practices. So when you start to get paranoid or anxious about something, you know exactly how to deal with it. If someone upsets you and triggers you at work or your family trigger you, you know how to break that down, that thought process, come out the other end and thrive again. So that's that part. The next, people did not think that I would bring this into the military world and said, there's no way they're going to accept this. This is fucking like crazy shit, for the military world, because the military world is very structured. But man, they received it very well, and it was on visualization. So the next part is we start an inspiration plan. That's how we're going to start your next part of it, right? So they've already become really well-oiled operators in their mental health by now. Right, so they've connected, so they go, oh, shit, I've got lived experience, I've got someone to be inspired by here, I've got all of that kind of stuff. I've got the mindset now, I'm taking full responsibility for my life, my discipline is on point, I've got acceptance, mindfulness, meditation behind me, I've got all the education that I need, I'm awake, and now I'm getting a visualization on where I'm going to go, and this is when we create it in 6 key areas. So the first is we help them build their purpose. So that's their spiritual goal, finding a purpose above and beyond themselves again. The second is their mental health. Well, we've already worked that one out. Third is their physical health. So now we've got a training plan. We're going to get you to, start loving who you're looking at the mirror again, right? Then after the physical health, we look at community and tribe. Mate, unless you have a community or tribe, and I'm talking to the 21-year-old veterans out there that are now on, pensions at 21 years old, at some stage, you're going to need a tribe. At some stage, you're going to need a community. Because if you're not giving value, you don't get it in return. Mm-hmm. And if you're not giving value and you don't get it in return, what do you think that does to confidence? You deteriorate over time. And in this world, in this spiritual world that we live in, God did not create us to deteriorate. We won the fucking sperm race for a reason. We're supposed to be out here right now finding why we're supposed to be out here right now. You need community to get there, right? And the next is financially. Everyone says your money doesn't make you happy. Maybe, but have you ever been fucking broke?
Yep.
Like shit.
Not fucking
It's
good
not
place
cool.
to be.
It's not a cool place to be. And I can tell you this right now, money can make you happy and it can make other people happy because it fucking helps with freedom.
It amplifies who you are as well, right? And if you've done everything that you spoke about through that, you're going to be in a good fucking place.
You're going to be a great, good place. Now we've created 6 key areas of happiness in all of these different goals, right?
Yep.
What they want to achieve. Let's go for your primary, which is up the top, is your purpose. We're going to find that. All the rest of it will be a byproduct anyways. And then when we get to module 6, they get our phone app. Right, so then they get released the phone app. Now, the phone app is 3 things that you're grateful for. You write that into the app. The second is inspiration that fuels your motivation. So before you get out of bed, every morning you have to wake up, you open up your app, it's got an alarm on it, you get up, you go, okay, I'll write down 3 things that I'm grateful for. I'm grateful to be here with Lockie. I'm grateful for people listening. I'm grateful for the experience I've had to get to where I'm at right now. And you're like, oh, shit, I'm not thinking about where I should be or where I'm becoming fucking grateful for what I have right now. The second is your inspiration. Like I told you, 3 characteristics on the human body. But as you're listening to it, they now visualize their goal, their purpose. They're getting up and they go, okay, I've got to fucking exercise next. So I'm feeling good. And you've got the rock in your ear or something. He's fucking telling you you're an epic motherfucker. Get up. So then you get up and then you go to the gym. So then you smash your workout. How rewarded do you feel every time you finish a workout?
100%.
Yeah, every single time you hear yourself say, fuck, I'm going to finish up early today on my workout, train harder, like I told you about with your running.
Yep.
Yeah, build your resilience every day, right? So get through that. The next is their meditation. They'll do meditation. Now, they only have to do 5 minutes. Become the witness of their thoughts, they're the participant, let things dissipate out of the mind, clear their mind on what they want to do, and bang, get on with your day. Now you're getting on with your day, you've just had all that training. What's going to happen if you have an argument with someone? You've got cognitive behavior therapy,
Yep.
you've got to need immediate action. Can't get over it? Let's start journaling. Can't do that? Let's go through meditation. Can't still get over it? Bang, here's my peer mentor. I've got someone. You've got an immediate action for everything. We're changing and saving lives, bro.
Yeah.
I've had 5,000 go through the program. We're at 3,000 completions of the new course, and we've had 0 suicides, all of which people came to us in a vulnerable state, most of these people. Now, let me tell you something about this. The Australian Defence Force, sending people out without training them to come home, there's 89 suicides, they were saying, per year. That is conservative numbers that they came up with. During our pilot with government, over that 2-year pilot, they gave us 500 veterans that were tested, 8 of which said the program had saved their life through using our emergency procedures, whether it was our peer mentors, our coaches, but they were going to commit suicide and the program saved their life, right? If you scale us up, there's 6,000 people that leave defence. 6,000, right, that leave defence. 500 people, 8. 500 people, scale that up to 6,000, that's 96 people's lives that get saved. We have solved the suicide epidemic with our program.
Far out.
This is why it has to be a compulsory program before leaving defence. Now, I'm not an idiot. I don't think that people out there aren't going to be committing suicide. But what I do think is that people that go through our program as a compulsory program before leaving defence is going to have a huge dent on this epidemic.
Couldn't agree more. Everything that you've said, is exactly what I know from my own experience and pulling myself out of the rut of things that have become important and I've built or educated myself throughout. And, you talk about environment, you have to be, for me, I have to be around people who are challenging me to be better, inspiring me, because once again, you can get it from places, but when you've got that community,
yes,
it's fucking rock solid. But when you talk about going through the program in the way that you did, it's like everything has its time and place, right? It's not like you start with setting the goals first, because a lot of people, as you said, it's like, I don't even know who the fuck I am. What goals am I setting?
Exactly. So that's why you have to level in influence. That's your story.
Yep.
So if you're going to do a seminar, man, you're not going to just go out there and go, hey, guys, breathwork's this. It's going to be, hi, my name is Lachlan.
Yeah.
It starts with who you are first before you share, and you can share that. And, mate, I tell you what, if you want to ever elevate seminars, tell them your actual story a bit, fucking get them to warm to you, and it's so important, man. It's so important. Look, man, I'm not going to relate to every single person, but my story is going to create a light bulb moment for their own. You know what I mean? So it's just really, really important to be courageous in that vulnerability in the beginning stages and then start building the building blocks of the framework.
How long does a program take?
Funny that you say that, man, because although that what we did was Josh is our community leader.
Yep.
And he'd say, look, I'll goal them for 6 weeks and then I'll goal them for 8 weeks if they do it for this amount of time. And he was like, if they do 8 hours, if they did 8 hours per week, they would get it done within 4 weeks. And if they did it, but the bottom line is they get gold for 6, 8 or 12 weeks to finish the program. I'm just going to be honest. There are some fucking pretty phenomenal smart soldiers out there and they will blitz the thing within a week and they'll just be obsessively going through. It's like, mate, we'll be watching it just come through the emails and go, Johnny Blogs has finished module 1. By that afternoon, Johnny Blogs has finished module 2. I'll be laying in bed. And module 3, or fucking Johnny Blogs is through module 3 and in the same day. And it's like, brother, fucking chill. Slow the fuck down,
Let
dude.
your brain.
But this is the power of the program, right? We've had so many people that go through this program. For instance, we had a Vietnam veteran recently, right? We usually target people under 55. Yep. But we had this veteran's like, man, 40 years I've been looking for these answers. For 40 years, I've been out there out in the wilderness looking for these fucking answers, mate. And you have just put them out there and made me realise like this was the path that I was supposed to be on. Because I came across them and they sort of resonated with me. But I was going to my psychiatrist and he was giving me my medication, and then I was just coming out, you know, and it's like, mate, fuck, you know, you need this framework sort of thing.
How do people get involved? Like for those who...
Just go to www.survivetothrivenation.com and it's pretty easy, man. You'll see the inquiry. I'll have all the information on the course. You'll see a couple of videos. It'll be broken down for you, pretty simple to get on it. And then veterans do not have to pay to get onto our program. If you've done at least 1 day of service, you do not have to pay to get on our program.
That's fucking awesome, man. Well, the time has flown.
The time has flown.
I'm fucking pumped. I'm pumped. I don't even know what time we started, but I know it's been going for a while.
Fucking ages. Yeah. Well, we started at 1:30 and it's 3 o'clock, so we've gone an hour and a half.
Yeah, we're on fire.
Yeah.
I'm going to go hit the gym now. I'm training for some rowing, so it's got to get it done every day and then get back in the office. But mate, I'm inspired by what you do. I think framework, and I spent, you know, much with the Man That Can project, it's framework, and I think it's often overlooked, the thought and the understanding and the education that goes into building out a well thought out framework. So everything that you said, I was just like, fuck yeah. Like you can see why the impact
works.
that you're having, right?
Yeah.
And it's all there for a reason. So for those who are sitting there and you may be struggling with anything that, you know, Dane and the team and everything that they're doing helps with, fucking get stuck in. Like if you've had 1 day of service, literally the investment is your time.
Exactly.
Right? It is
exactly. And by the way, don't think it's free. Someone else is paying for you. Like, have that gratefulness when you go through the program. Like, just insert yourself and just become obsessive with your growth. And happiness is going to be a byproduct to it. So, yeah. But man, look, it's been an awesome little adventure here. It's funny. We went, you know, fucking all over the joint.
Mate, that's what I love about conversation. I don't like these regimented ones where I have a clipboard and say, Dane, tell me about...
Yeah, the next one we're going to do is in the sauna. So
imagine that. I wouldn't mind a fucking sauna podcast.
If anyone knew the conversations that went down in the sauna, that place is a place of wisdom, mate.
Yeah.
That's fucking... I'm going to go in there one day. The Dalai Lama will be sitting in there. I swear to fucking God. Shit.
Game on. Mate... Pleasure.
Mate, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure.
Gents, thanks so much for listening to the episode. If you got value, remember to leave a review, share it on your socials. And one thing I want to sign out with, as always, is do something today to make you better for tomorrow. Thank you for listening to the Man That Can Project podcast. My name is Lachlan Stuart, and I hope you enjoyed this episode and found it helpful. If you did, please take a moment to rate and review the Man That Can Project on your favorite podcast platform. And don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with our newest episodes. We'll see you again next time.